Kerbals have contracts to fulfill in the friendly skies. Kerbal engineers get to work in a jiffy, bolting together the pieces to be the first Kerbal aeroplane with jet propulsion. The first intrepid Kerbal to take on the task is Valentina Kerbin, throwing her iron giant down the runway in a bolt of speed. Look at her go. This ushers in a new period of comfort and cruise in Kerbal lifestyle. Showing off what the craft is truly capable of, Valentina sets her down and shows off that capsule is impenetrable, not even a scratch. Not satisfied with jets alone, Jebediah Kerman suggests that a rocket be put on the back of the plane, ushering in a new era of orbit-based craft. To the skies, Jebediah will go boldly. What lies next? Will the Kerbals get to orbit? Stay tuned in the next episode of Kerbal Space Program, where we will answer this question and many more.
Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Saka here, and welcome back to another episode of Kerbal Space Program. It is day 1, 5 hours and 45 minutes into the game. Today, we are heading to space. At least that's what we are going to try to do. We have a contract to orbit Kerbin, which means the orbit around Kerbin cannot touch the atmosphere, so the lowest point in our orbit has to be over 70,000 meters, and that's good to go. Hopefully we can engineer us a rocket that can get at least to the moon. Not land on the moon this time around, but do, say, a flyby so we can get a lot of science. That is the hope and goal. First thing we're going to do, though, is upgrade the tracking station, and then we are going to upgrade the launch pad so we can hold a 140-ton vessel on board. Now I think we're all set. Mission control, we've got 7 contracts available for the R&D center. Limit is 500. We're at 40. As far as the astronaut complex is concerned, we can place flags and do EVAs. So, all right, all we got to do is get a rocket that can at least head to the moon. Let's build her. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we have so far. Actually, let me take a look at this fuel line here. So we've got some onion, asparagus, sort of staging. I wanted to do 4 engines, but we've got 4,500 meters per second of delta V right now as it is, so that should be fine. Let's fire the engines and drop the clamps first, and then those will lift off. And then we want both the engine and the decoupler. And then, let's see. Yeah, we don't need a decoupler there. So let's actually put the parachutes first and then the decouple, I guess, just in case things go wrong. But we are ready to go. We've got Jebediah and we have Bob, the scientist. So ideally, in a perfect world, what's going to happen is Jebediah is going to fly this thing, and then Bob will get out and do these experiments, grab the data, reset these experiments, and then they will make their way on to the next location. So we should, hopefully, be getting a ton of science. Whether or not that works stands to reason, but we are going to give it a shot. We put on some batteries as well. We are way up in the air. I didn't expect that, but Jebediah and Bob should be ready to go. And let's SAS on, throttle up, and 3, 2, 1, go. Very slow off the launch pad. There's a lot of fuel here and not a whole lot of thrusts, apparently. But we do have more than enough fuel, I imagine. We just have to get going, burn off some of this fuel. When we drop these side pods, the middle will be full of fuel and no worse to the wear. One thing about it, we will not be getting our shock heating if we're going to be moving this slow. I just wonder, you know, are we going to be able to pitch over and get up any speed with any quickness? That is my hope and goal. I mean, there is a lot of weight on this rocket, but we are making our way higher and higher. Once we get to about, I'd say about 5,000 or so, we can start pitching over to the right, but I'm not exactly sure. I want to make sure that we have some speed up in this thing. Let's tilt on over to the 90 just barely. See if we can get the rocket tilted over and nudged over just like so. Once we can start getting some sideways motion, we should be okay. We're practically just going like straight up in the grand scheme of things. But as far as we are tilting over, we should be able to ditch those second stages, or those side pods, and really start getting up some speed here. Something like that, nice and stable. Starting to get some side speed. 11,000 meters and almost at 45 degrees. We're about ready to ditch the side pods here. Ditch! Because it kind of looks like we're spinning our wheels here. Not really gaining any altitude. One spin for good measure. Dang it! Launch number 4, we've added in a inline reaction wheel to try to get some turn authority, some torque out of this thing. Perhaps this pod didn't have the amount of torque needed to really turn the rocket. And I mean, you would think with the fins and the swivel and the command pod torque, we would be okay to turn, but I imagine this is just too heavy to do what we need to do. So maybe the inline reaction wheel can help us pivot this monstrosity. I also thought about adding RCS fuel on the center of mass of this section. That way the RCS thrusters could help pivot it. But it is a trial by error process, and that's what we're here to do. So launch 4, apparently going swimmingly. Let's pitch on over to the 90 and see if we get that weird, right before the engines cut out wobble that this particular rocket has. It is the oddest thing. Like, I could understand that when the rocket's cut, it would start doing all kinds of crazy stuff, but the moment that the fuel runs out to, I guess, this bottom tank, it just gets so bottom heavy that the rocket decides to flip out or becomes unstable. So we're going to hopefully use this reaction wheel to our advantage. Let's look at our electric charge. It's a 250. We have supplemental batteries, and I hope that the alternators on this engine keep recharging those batteries. So 8,700, we are at 300 meters a second. So far, so good. I believe the reaction control wheel is holding us steady. Much steadier at this point in the launch before, that is for sure. And skadoosh. There goes those boosters away. We are losing speed just a little bit, but it should average out. Hopefully we don't flip negative on our speed gain. We are pitching over, so as long as we maintain speed and then start picking up speed as this fuel burns off, we'll be okay. We should be at the 45 now, or at least trying to get there. This swivel engine is definitely doing the work. It may actually take us all the way up to orbit and beyond. So feeling really good about that. Now if we stay on the 45, something like this, and let our speed pick up laterally, we should break through the atmosphere, get above 70K, and then we can circularize, do some science, and see if we got enough for the moon. Once we get up to, or up out of the atmosphere, our delta V should improve because of the efficiency of these engines in a vacuum. So yeah, let's just hold it there. Look at the map mode. What is our apoaps now? It's at 41 and climbing. We want it at 70. So we'll just keep it right here as we burn. We are picking up a lot of speed now, and we are exiting the atmosphere. We're starting to get in the very light stuff. Still have a half a tank, and then we have this whole engine section here that is full of fuel. Bye, Kerbal Space Center. Hopefully we can recover those engine parts, but they have probably exploded in a glorious fireball. Jebediah and Bob are looking okay. $50,000, still chasing that apoaps. I don't have Kerbal Engineer, so we can't see if we're actually gaining time on that apoaps or losing time on the apoaps, but as long as we keep pushing out, and we can get up to, say, 80,000 meters just for good measure, that should be fine. So yeah, pushing that over. We're actually gaining on our apoaps a bit, so we can tilt down just a skosh and really get that speed up. We definitely want that prograde marker to remain above the horizon line, though. All right, 65, almost to 70K. We'll cut the engines at 80. Or let's try 75. Boom, 75,000. Let's add our maneuver node. We want to go prograde until they flip. And as you can see right there, it looks like that is going to be a 1-minute burn. Let's get on our maneuver marker. Or a 45 seconds. So we need to go until, let's say, T-minus 22, I assume. And then hopefully we have enough fuel left in this stage, but up we go. We're out of the atmosphere here, and burn. We'll keep right on that maneuver node. We haven't leveled up enough to where Jebediah can keep it pointed right at the maneuver node. It's also going to say that we are not going to run out of fuel in this maneuver node as well. So we have plenty of delta V left in this section, and another 1,600 meters a second of delta V just in this capsule here. So we should be fine enough to begin our science and then plot a transfer to the moon and maybe, just maybe, even mend this. There we go. Auto-saving, that should be our orbit. 68. 68 and 77. All right, so let's go ahead and just circularize a bit with this maneuver node. It's not going to take much at all. Oh, this is an interesting interface. I like it indeed. All right, let's go ahead and spin here and use the ye olde speed up trick. As soon as we get over our maneuver node, we're going to time accelerate. Like so. And it says it's going to be a 0.4 second burn. So we can go, you know, right up to the 0. All right, here we go. T-minus 10. We are just going to squeeze a little bit out of this engine. Not much. Just crack the throttle like so. Booyah. All right, 3 contracts complete. We have the contract parameter, got 12 science and 96,000 buckaroos, 21 prestige. Then we did orbit Kerbin, another 12 science, 21 prestige, and another 62,000. And then world's first, 48,000 bucks, 5 science, and 10 buckaroos. All right, so I will go ahead and turn off SAS so we don't use up our battery. That's going to be one of the things that we have to look out for, is we have no solar panels to recharge this thing. So we can't run out of electric charge. So I'll go ahead and get to the light side, and then we can start doing some low Kerbin orbit science. All right, on the light side now, first up, let's go ahead and get some scientific data. We'll log that pressure data and a pressure scan in space near Kerbin. That's 24 science. We'll keep that experiment. We'll observe the mystery goo. Booyah. All right, in space near Kerbin, it's 1.1 science, but our scientists will be able to reset that experiment. That's not a big deal. Let's log the temperature. We'll get nothing for that, and then our science junior will observe the materials bay and get 2.4 science for that. So we'll keep that experiment and have our scientist Bob go ahead and pick up that data. All right, Bob, out you go. All right, EVA report. 16 science from space just above the grasslands. So that is a biome-specific thing. As we rotate around, Bob can, you know, tell us a little bit more per biome. All right, collect that data. Remove that data. There you go, Bob. Hold up. Hold up, wait a minute. Restore the Science Junior. All right, we need to collect the data. Let's turn on some lights here. We got to collect the data from our mystery goo. Remove that data and restore that. There's our rocket looking nice and awesome. Now I believe, yeah, we took that data. And then we have the thermometer as well. Easy does it, Bob. I'm using spacebar to try to climb, and that's not the way to do it. All right, so we're all set here. All of our experiments are done. We should be able to store the experiments, climb back in, and set a course for the moon, or at least a higher Kerbin orbit. Grab and board. Something like that, a 10,145. Okay, so that is a 48-second burn. I think we've got enough delta V in our rocket to do such things as these. So we'll warp to the next maneuver. That will put us 1 minute out, automagically. And then we'll do the time warp thing and then burn at T-minus 24 seconds. So we're going to get nice and close to the moon if we can. Now this burn should recharge our batteries. I'd like to think anyway. All right, SAS on. 2, 1, burn. So we will expend this stage as much as we can. We don't have enough fuel in this particular stage to get it done, but we do have that upper stage with our experiments on it. So we're going to do most of the work with this swivel stage. And then this next stage right here shall carry us the rest of the way. It's got 1,600 meters of delta V. So what we could probably do is we could fly by the moon and then, let's say, land on Minmus. If we could do such things as those, we'll certainly give it a try. All right, just finishing off this burn with an ever so slight squeeze. SAS off. All right, then that will actually slam us right into the moon. We definitely don't want to do that. Let's point prograde. And we'll burn just a little bit more. 21,000 meters to the moon. That might be good. So we will get our high Kerbal stuff about here at our Apoaps, and then we will get our high moon stuff about there. Then we'll get our low moon stuff, and then we will sort of adjust our orbit to see if we can get to Minmus, because right now we will be flung out of the Kerbal local neighborhood here. So I'll go ahead and fast forward to get our high science and be right back with you. All right, time warp complete. Are we high above? Let's do a crew report. In space, high over Kerbal. Excellent. We'll keep that experiment. Then we will do our barometer pressure data. Atmospheric pressure scan in high over Kerbal. We'll keep that one. Then we have our temperature gauge here. Log that temperature. High over Kerbal. We'll keep that. We'll do our mystery goo. While high over Kerbal, that's another 30. Then we will do our Science Junior, observe the materials bay. Another 75 science, we'll keep that. And then when Bob goes out on his EVA, we will do an EVA report and get another 24 science. Sweet. All right, coming close to the moon's sphere of influence here, we are 8 minutes away. And as soon as we cross that threshold and our nav ball flips, we will be high in space over the moon. And then we'll be able to go to work. So there we go, 13 seconds. Let's get ready to watch the nav ball flip, and as soon as it does, we will start sciencing like crazy, boys. All right, boys, here we go. Watch that nav ball flip. Boom, it has flipped. Science Junior, observe the materials bay. High in space over the moon. Keep that one. Mystery goo, observe and keep. There's another crew report. Keep it. Temperature and barometer, please. All right, keep that. Temperature, log, keep that. And then Bob, go to work, please. All right, we're near the moon at 30,000. Let's go ahead and just blast all of these guys. We don't need to collect it just yet, but we will do all of our experiments here. 150 science, barometer, log the pressure data, and then temperature scan. All right, then we need an EVA report. Hey, Bob, hop out real quick. EVA report, 48 science, keep, store, board. We don't want to get Bob lost in space hurtling over the moon. But the next thing we want to do is leave the moon's sphere of influence and at our periaps here, slow ourselves down so we don't end up in inter-sun orbit space type thing. So I will see you when we leave the moon. All right, 10 seconds away from Mooner escape, and then we will be back in Kerbal's pull, and then we'll just point retrograde and slow ourselves right down at the periapsis here. Add a maneuver. We want to slow down, please, so that we don't get flung out. Let's see, so where exactly is Minmus's sphere of influence? Set that as a target. So maybe something like so. 6-second burn on our retrograde, sounds good. We're 26 minutes away. We'll warp to the next maneuver. And then an 81 meter a second change in Delta V should allow us to get recaptured by Kerbin so we don't go out in interstellar space. All right, here we go. So we want SAS on, we want to grow retrograde, and we've got a 6-second burn. So at T-3, 5, 4, 3, go. And that is not recharging our battery, so we have to be extremely careful on our battery usage for sure. But we should be recaptured. Indeed, we are not going to go flailing off into outer space. So I will have Bob collect all of this science and then get on an approach to Minmus to see if we can land on that thing. All right, time warp to our next maneuver node. We were here when I set the maneuver node. Basically, I let one orbit go by, and we have a 148 meter per second change. It's going to throw us to about here, and it works out because we're trying to meet it right at the ascending node, so it doesn't matter, you know, the inclination. We are going to meet it at the point where its orbit intersects ours, which is ideal. We have an 11-second burn, so let us go ahead and orientate our rocket to our maneuver node and fire at T-5 seconds. And then hopefully that should be enough to get us on an encounter with a Minmus. We've got 1,300 meters a second left in this rocket, so we can brute force this. We don't have to be too efficient and let it happen. All right, so 1 meter a second. Let's go ahead and refine. Get it as accurate as possible. All right, so where does that put us in the grand scheme of things? So yes, indeed, we are going to get our Minmus encounter. Periaps of 872,000. So we can circularize when we get there. Should be fine. We'll be coming, looks like it'll be kind of over the pole, but that's fine. We just need to do a circularization orbit, get in low, Minmus orbit, do that science, and then do a landing. So I will see you in another 12 days. There is Minmus in all of its, I guess, sherbet colored beauty. As soon as we see this nav ball flip, we'll hop on the good foot, do the bad thing. There we go. Let's go ahead and get our standard crew reports. Oh, I guess Bob is going to have to EVA, collect, take data, store data. Let's cancel that. Take data, store data. All right, EVA report. High over Minmus, another 40 science. We'll go ahead and store that one as well. We'll hop on and get a regular crew report going. And that is another 25 science. We'll hop the mystery goo. That's going to be another 50 science. We go to the Science Junior. That's going to be another 125 science. Let's go to the barometer. Log that pressure. That's another 60 science. Let's log the thermometer. And that is a 40. All right, so how long until we reach our periaps here? How long do we have to... Oh, 3 hours? Yeah, that's more than enough time for Bob to go out there and do what is necessary. Then we're going to drop the next periapsis right down to about, hopefully, 10,000 or so. Yeah, definitely not 2. 26. I'm not sure exactly where low Minmus orbit is. Let's try 10. We should be okay, or 11. That should be fine. All right, Bob is going to go ahead and hop on out, grab all of these experiments, and I will see you for our low Minmus approach. All right, first flyby of close Minmus encounter. There it is. We'll focus on the science first, just to see. Hold on, Bob. Fine, EVA. Take the data, store the data, board, and then do a crew report. Are we? Nope, still high over Minmus. All right, we'll reset that experiment. We got down to 10,000. So once we get to, say, about 20, I'll start looking again just to see. We'll probably do one pass and then pick a landing spot. Probably one of these lakes that you see right here to land in. Nice and smooth. Hopefully on the equator, so once we take off, we can get a little bit of that equatorial speed, and then we'll be on our way back home to Kerbin. So there's 20,000. Is this low over Minmus? Yes, space near Minmus. We'll keep that experiment. We will observe the mystery goo. We will keep that. We will open the materials bay. We will take 200 science. Yes, please. We will log the temperature. 64 more science. Keep that. And the barometer. We will log that pressure data as well. Keep that. All right, so Bob needs to do an EVA report. And that's another 64 science just above the lowlands. We'll have to remember to do another EVA report for Bob just in case we pass over something that isn't the lowlands. But we're all set. So basically, we'll come down and we'll probably get to about right here and then plot our landing. Hopefully we can get someplace nice and easy. So, all right, Bob, go ahead and board. It's a little too dark for me to, we could just stop dead in our tracks right here and fly back to the lake, but I want to maintain the delta V that we have just in case something bad happens. So I'll go ahead and warp to this point. In the next orbit, it'll take us 2 days to get there. But then we should be okay to, that was close, but we should be okay to plot our landing. So I'll see you on approach. All right, 96 meters a second, pretty close to the equator, and that's right there in the middle of that lake. So that looks like a good enough landing site for me. Let's go ahead and rotate. We only need a 7-second burn here. So we will actually be on the retrograde. And we will hold that there, SAS off, speed up. And then once we get to T-3, we'll go for broke here. And we'll be landing about right there. That's about where we would like to go. All right, retrograde and burn. That flip shows us that we are coming down to the surface. All right, cut that there. SAS off, if you please. And yeah, we're we'll warp there. But Minmus is so easy to land on due to its low gravity. A lot easier than the moon. So I recommend that if you are trying to find a place to land, go to Minmus first. Your actions and your corrections work a whole lot better here on Minmus. You can slow down a whole lot faster, and it's easier to leave as well. All right, we're coming down, got 242 electric charge left, so we don't have to worry about that. Let's go ahead and go retrograde on the burn. And you can see how quickly we just bleed off our orbital speed. Once that gets to 0, we're essentially falling straight down now. Right there in the little crevice. So we'll go ahead and continue to fall. And we're going to be kind of right there in the meeting place between the lake and the hills. One thing that we do want to do is left click and make sure we're on surface mode. That will ensure that any retrograde burn that we give is relative to the surface rotation and not our orbit. One thing I do want to do is point this, get our stability assist down here to force this marker right over And now we are literally falling straight down on a nice little bit of landing area. We'll pick up some speed, but like I said, it's very easy to kill off that speed with our engines. Let's do, instead of sea level, let's do radar altitude, so you can see we're 3,000 meters above the surface right now. We can start to see some ground scatter as well. And you see we essentially just shaved off a third of our speed in 800 meters. We've got 700 meters of delta V left. That should be more than enough to get back to Kerbin. Once we land, Bob will go ahead and collect all of the experiments, and then we will run the experiments again when we are touched down. We'll plant a flag, and everything will be awesome. So there's our shadow there. 30 meters a second. And we should be okay to rest on this Terrier liquid fuel engine. We don't really need a landing gear here, as the surface isn't pulling us down that hard. All right, so there is our real shadow, not the rendered shadow that was earlier. This is our actual shadow. And right where our shadows meet is where we want to be. So nice slow burn. We don't want to go back up, so we want to continue to see a speed reduction here. 1 meter a second. And then cut as soon as we touch down. Like so, SAS off, and we have landed on the surface of Minmus, and that is another world first milestone, or at least it should be. All right, Bob. Well, actually, Jebediah can EVA out. You'll be the first Kerbal on another planet. There goes Jebediah down to the surface, and booyah, we have made it. Lights on. Jebediah, go ahead and plant the flag if you please. And we'll take a surface sample as well. Okay, so we'll get the, we won't have Jeb do the EVA report. We'll just have him plant the flag. That's exactly what Jebediah is here to do. Bob is here for all that science nonsense. And there we go, United Federation of Planets, and first landing. And then, let's see, what day is today? I always like to put dates here. It is 9 June of 19. And it is 1904 military time. So I can see exactly when I got there. And Jebediah is all set. He was even doing the limbo. All right, Jebediah, SAS off, and now let's bracket key up to Bob and have him do the actual work. All right, so Bob will do the EVA report. Another 80 science, we'll keep that. Store that. All right, Bob. RCS on. Collect the data and restore it. Luckily, the gravitational pull here on Minmus is such that we can use this this RCS pack and not really have to worry about it here. Let's go ahead and collect all this data and reset the cans. Remove and restore, please. And then we'll grab the barometric pressure data and the temperature data. Take that and take that, and then get back aboard there. There, Bob. Is this the door? Okay, so I believe... Okay, Bob. RCS pack on, please. There we go. So the hatch is over here. He almost actually kicked the rocket over, which would have not been ideal. That is for sure. There we go. Store everything. We'll just have him board and leave. All right, SAS on, please. Oh, no pilot. Can't engage. So we should be fine. I mean, Bob's rocking and rolling just a little bit. All right, take data. Store data. Board. I don't remember if we got this or not. All right, from the Great Flats. Keep that. Mystery, go. 100 science, keep that. Temp pressure, keep that. Temperature, keep that. Science Junior, 250, keep that. And now Bob just needs to go get a soil sample. Bob will float on down. All right, Bob, a soil sample, if you please. 300 science from the Mimbus Great Flats. Outstanding. So that is us. I'll have Bob collect all of this data once we get airborne, or I guess vacuum-borne, and in a stable orbit around Mimbus before we go home, and then we will be heading home, so I will be right back. All right, leaving Mimbus' sphere of influence, we are going over the top just a bit. And then once we reach our apoapse here, we will be able to turn retrograde, bring that periapse down, and land, I hope, on a light side. We will see. We'll go ahead and add a maneuver. We will take out some prograde and watch that apoapse drop. So that's at 2 million. We need to continue on. That's at 1 million, 73 meters a second. That's going to be at 429,000. There, it went away just a little bit. All right, so 8,000 meters may be a bit aggressive. 40 should be fine. All right, so 100 meters a second delta V change in 1 day. There's Kerbin. So we will be coming back for you here in a second, buddy. All right, SAS on. Looks like Jebediah is leveled up to go radials and normals. No maneuver node, unfortunately, but this maneuver is retrograde, so that's going to make it very simple. All right, all we got to do is warp forward until T-2. With plenty of electric charge. All right, and there we have it. 0.5 meters a second different. That will put us at 55. We will definitely fall into Kerbin's atmosphere. Now, part of me wants to try to save as much as we can, but if it does look like we are going to burn up, I have the heat shield right here. So we will do some of our slowing down with the engine that is left, and then we will pop the parachutes. If the parachutes are able to save this engine, then awesome. If not, we have our heat shield here. All the experiments have been pulled out and stored in the pod. So if these burn up and go kaboom, we are all set. But if they do survive re-entry, wherever we land, we can do another round of science to end the episode. So I will go ahead and warp right next to the planet re-entry. So we will see you in 8 days. All right, there's the apoapse periapse flip. We are coming down this time, ladies and gentlemen. Whether or not we are coming down in the ocean or on a piece of land, that remains to be seen. But Bob and Jebediah have spent 57 days in this spacecraft, and I'm sure they will be ready to come home. Where exactly are we in the grand scheme of things? Yeah, it looks like we are going to be... Oh, crap, there is a Kerbal Space Center. So it's a shame we couldn't have come down a little bit closer to that, but I'm sure this line will drop and we won't be too far away. We may get a regular old bonus, hopefully maybe 70 or 60%, who knows? But as we come down, we will wait for the parachutes to show good deployment speed, and we'll see if we can bring down this whole craft again. We're actually getting a little bit more heating. But that shouldn't last too awful long. Once we dip down into this thicker part, we'll slow right down and then be over sea level. Assuming we can survive. I mean, one good thing is we are coming in over the daylight side, so we'll be able to see what we're doing. And my word, at the amount of heating that's going on here. Yeah, let's slow physics down right quick so we're we're not taxing the computer too awful much. Are we going to come down on this little island? We may indeed. So good to see that there are no heating indication warnings. We are slowing down nice and quick. It's just a question of, are we going to come down, you know, enough to do the parachute? If not, we can get rid of this bottom half of the rocket and use the heat shield. But so far, everything is awesome. We're slowing down. We should be getting to the mid-section of the atmosphere right here, and yep, we are coming in and coming straight down. Breaking the sound barrier a bit, we can unhook those parachutes. Parachutes are safe to deploy. And that should get us slowed right down. We're going to come down in the ocean, it seems. I think we've already been here and taken a temperature report from those guys. But hopefully we'll be able to save most of this spacecraft. We'll slow it down at 1,000 meters so we don't go through the time acceleration. Because I've seen parachutes rip when they get to, there we go. Parachutes down. 6 meters a second should be fine, especially on that engine. And then we'll see exactly what we can do as far as science is concerned, see if we can get any cheeky science or anything like that before we go and call it an episode. But we've gotten a lot of things done this episode, ladies and gentlemen, and a lot of science to spend. So coming down 100 meters, we'll keep as much of the rocket intact as we can to recover it all. And here we go. Set down. All right. We have splashdown. All right, let's observe the mystery goo. 0.4 science, we'll keep it. We'll observe the material bay. Nice. 20 more science, we'll keep that. We'll get all of this when we recover the spacecraft. So nothing there. Crew report. 4 science, and then Jeb with an EVA. Nothing there. All right, can we do a surface sample? Take surface sample of the water. All right, 1.5, we'll keep it, get Jeb aboard, and recover the spacecraft. All right, let's see what we got, ladies and gentlemen, from our trip around the moon and Minmus and landing and all that good stuff. I believe I got 2,000 science the last time I did a similar mission. 2,898 science from this little trip. I mean, we got a bunch of stuff. Bunch of stuff indeed. 3,000 science. 65% value. So we got 6,000 bucks back from our craft. We're up to $1.5 million. Both of these guys advanced to level 2. We can recover the struts, and man, oh man. So yes, we have 3,031 science to spend on this tech tree now, ladies and gentlemen. I think next time we may go to the moon. It just depends on what we unlock, but that will do it for me. Like, share, and subscribe if you are so bold. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you in the next Kerbal Space Program video. Take care.